that's the show. Psych! Psych! We got more. So I'm going to talk about some crazy ass shit. Like, again, we live in this world. I'm going to be talking about the gubernatorial race in Michigan here. We live in a society where, like, the idea of being proactive doesn't exist, right? Society-wise, right? Being proactive, it's not a thing. No one's proactive. We all are just reacting to things. Instead of building a bridge, right? You know, instead of, like, you know, plugging up the holes on the sinking ship, we're always just trying to get a pail and get the water out. When there's more water coming in, the pail's not doing much, okay, right? So, again, as a society, we've decided proactive measures, gone, shit, we don't want that shit, right? We want to kill as many people as possible so that we can go get a hot dog at the local gas station if we want to, right? So that's what we've decided as a society. Well, anyway, I got this article here, and I want to read in regards to the race going on in Michigan. School learning loss during the pandemic was the dominant issue at a Sunday campaign rally for Michigan gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon as she and her surrogates jockeyed for votes in the final days before the November 8 election. Now, again, is school learning loss a problem? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but again, what's the solution? What's the solution to school learning loss? Now, we've seen throughout the pandemic, right, school grades are shockingly, sharply going down. Why is that? Well, all I know is that an entire generation, think about this. The CDC statistics, this is CDC statistics, have said 87%, as of right now, 87% of people under the age of 18 have had COVID at least once. We know 40% of COVID patients have some form of long COVID. We know that the most common form of long COVID is nausea, dizziness, brain fog, inability to pay attention. We know that long COVID is more likely to develop if one is not allowed or not allotted a large amount of rest. When people are forced to go to school, otherwise their parents go to jail. If you don't go to school, police show up at your door and send your parents to jail if you don't go to school. So you're not allowed to rest. Right? And so less people are able to rest and more people are getting this virus. And again, 87% of under 18s have been infected at least once. That's all we know. At least once. It could be more, could be way worse. All we know is it's at least once. So, but again, Republicans don't care about that. They don't give a fuck about facts. They don't give a fuck about logic. They're just going to cry and whine. They're going to look at a problem like an entire generation getting dumber, and they're going to say, vote for me! Right? Because again, as a country, as a society, Americans are too fucking stupid to be proactive. Americans are fucking morons, right? And again, stupid-ass Americans keep producing stupid-ass Americans that keep voting for stupid-ass Americans, and the cycle just keeps going. So anyway, let's keep going here. Ronna McDaniel, chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, accused Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer of lying during a debate about Dixon on Tuesday with Dixon, when Whitmer said schools were closed for 3 months during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, again, school closures were extremely localized, right? I lived in North Carolina in 2020. There were, like, the schools closed for 3 months, but they were back open in August, right? You know, again, there was no lockdown and like all the stores were open. Everything was open in North Carolina. Michigan, I know that there was a little bit of a different thing. So I'm not sure. But either way, again, the school closures were localized, right? In a lot of these instances, state governments didn't want to get the responsibility or the blame, right? So what they did is they localized it. They said, we recommend you do these things, and then most districts probably will, but it was not forced. Now, again, if we would have all done a society-wide lockdown, you know, an actual lockdown, not a Republican, oh, we're going to say we're locking down, but everyone can go outside and everyone can go to work anyway, right? But if we did an actual lockdown, 3 months, we wouldn't be talking about this anymore. No one would be talking about COVID-19. People would probably not even remember that there was a pandemic, right? Because it would have been so short and so long ago. But instead, we decided to do nothing, because Americans are fucking stupid and we don't like being proactive, we decided to do nothing. And now, again, 1 million fucking motherfuckers are dead. 87% of kids have been forced to undergo medical experimentation. And no, I'm not talking about giving a free life-saving vaccine. I'm talking about being forced to go to school. Otherwise, their parents go to jail, right? So you have to choose. Parents go to jail, you become an orphan, or go to school and get infected with a deadly disease, right? So again, that's the choice we forced on everyone under the age of 18. 87% of them have had COVID, right? We know, again, 40% of COVID patients get long COVID. Again, what is more likely to facilitate in long COVID? Brain fog and, you know, like, again, other sort of cognitive issues, neurological issues, right? So I don't know what to tell you. This idea that, like, having any proactive measure against society-wide problems is like, oh, that's liberal. Only liberals want to prevent disasters from happening. Like, how did we get here? Where this is a campaign point? Where there's going to be, like, some suburban voter out there who's going to be like, you know, that's really true. You know, when the schools closed, like, and then also, is there any data to suggest that virtual learning is what caused grades to go down versus going back to school, getting infected with a virus, and then having neurological issues? Right now, again, I'm open to the idea that virtual learning is not as good as a physical in-person environment. I'm open to that idea, right? And especially, again, some people are probably better at virtual learning. Some people are probably better in a physical environment, right? Not everyone is the same. But a lot of these studies, right, do they or do they not incorporate, you know, the 2.5 years of open school where 87% of kids have gotten COVID? And again, most of them have probably developed some form of a neurological issue. Is that accounted for in any of these studies? You know what I mean? Right? Like, is at all? Does anyone even factor this in at all? I know Republicans certainly don't. But again, this fucking shit, man. I just like the idea that this is like Republicans feel comfortable to campaign on the idea that not only is proactive prevention of disasters bad, but we should accelerate the disaster. Like that, and then there's going to be the suburban voter out there that's like, you know, I'm not sure, you know, is preventing the disaster a good idea? You know, oh, gee, I don't know, gosh, you know, I'm a suburban voter and I love my kids, but you know, gee, I just really don't know. Like, yeah, you can campaign on talking to these dumbass motherfuckers. Whitmer closed school for 3 months in the spring of 2020 and then let local school boards decide whether to reopen in the fall of 2020, operate in a hybrid format of a couple of days per week of in-person, or remain in remote learning mode with school buildings closed to students. In November 2020, Whitmer's health department closed high schools for nearly 2 months during the second wave of COVID infections before the vaccine became widely available in early 21. Many Michigan schools continue to operate in hybrid or remote learning mode well into the spring of 21. McDaniel spoke at a campaign rally on Sunday in Livonia for Dixon, who was trying to deny Whitmer a second term. Quote, "It is time to fund students, not systems." What the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? Fund students, not systems. What the fuck does that mean? We had the opportunity to talk about what's happening in schools and what we're going to do to get kids back on track, and I still haven't heard from Gretchen Whitmer what she's planning to do. And then there's no end quote there. Just leaving me hanging. Quote, "She stands up there and no one holds her accountable. What are you going to do to get these kids back on track?" Dixon said. "We got our reading scores back from the spring. Nearly 60% of our third graders failed." Now again, could this possibly be a result of 87% of kids getting infected with a deadly disease that's most notable symptom is neurological disorder, brain fog, cognitive decline? Is it possible? No. It's Gretchen Whitmer. It's Gretchen. Big Gretch is why we in this. It's not my fault. It's not the policies I support. No, it's goddamn Gretchen. She did this to everybody. She created COVID and gave it to everybody for no reason. I mean, COVID's just the flu, but it's just, she gave it to everybody. Like, what the fuck are these people talking about, man? Like, sincerely, I mean, I lose my mind with this fucking shit. I don't know if anyone hears, like, a beeping, but there's, like, something is going on. There's some beeping somewhere near my household, and it is driving me fucking crazy. Does anyone hear that shit? Hold on. Like, what the fuck is this beeping that I'm hearing? Is there, like, a fucking garbage truck, like, outside, and it's, like, stuck out there? What the fuck is going on? Anyway, Michigan dropped in state rankings in 4th and 8th grade reading, according to 2022 results from the National Assessment of Education Progress, also known as the Nation's Report Card, which was released October 24 by the U.S. Department of Education's National Center for Education and Statistics. So the last National Report Card was in 2019, and then it recently came out in 2020. Now, again, 3 months of an attempted school closure versus 2.5 years of open reinfection of a disease that most likely targets people's neurological, function and cognitive function, right? Think about that. What is more likely to be accounted for? 3 months of school closures 2.5 years ago, or 2.5 years of going out there and getting sick every other day and having it affect your brain and how you can process information? What is more likely to have an effect? Is anyone hearing this beeping? Like, what the fuck is this noise? Anyway, in 4th grade reading, Michigan went from 32 to 43. In 8th grade reading, Michigan's ranking dropped to 31 in 2022 compared to 28 in 2019. Michigan improved in state rankings in 4th grade math to 36th compared to 42nd in 2019. In 8th grade math, Michigan's ranking rose to 26 from 28. So anyway, there you go. While Dixon tries to divide voters with their extreme plans, Governor Whitmer has brought people together to make the biggest investment in K-12 education in Michigan history, close the funding gap. I mean, that's all good. But, like, again, none of that has anything to... Like, whoever's going to be susceptible to what Tudor Dixon or Ronna McDaniel's saying, right? They're not... None of this, it doesn't matter. This doesn't appeal to anybody, right? Like, again, we live in this society where there's just so many fucking motherfuckers that are just so goddamn motherfucking stupid that the idea of, like, sending their kids to get forced to undergo medical experimentation is a good idea instead of, I don't know, a free, effective, universally provided vaccine and a couple months of vacation. That's scary. Couple months off, a vaccine, free healthcare, that's scary. Let's force our kids to undergo medical experimentation so that they resent us for the rest of their lives and they'll have neurological issues, cognitive decline, starting from the ripe old age of 13. Can't wait to start going dementia ridden when I'm 30 because I had COVID when I was 13. Isn't that going to be great? Isn't that going to be a wonderful thing in society when we see 30 or 40-year-olds with dementia? Who knows what COVID's going to do in the long term? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. I don't fucking know. So, you know what also I don't know? I don't know what the fuck this beeping is. And it's really fucking, like... I'm about to, like, is there, like, a fuck... Like, I'm about to go complain. I'm about to run outside and complain to somebody. Anyway, it's a sad state of affairs. It's a really sad state of affairs that we've got going on. But, hey, whatever. I'm not going to school. I haven't gotten COVID yet, so I'm just gonna watch the world burn from inside my bedroom while I pet my fucking dog. That's, you know, that's gonna be my way of celebrating the end of society and civilization.